Hello and welcome to another episode of CRT Sound System, and we're got episode 68, and we're talking about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And I'm here with Reese as always. Reese, how are you?
I'm incredible. How are you, Tom? A bit
I'm
aggravated,
really
I
looking forward
imagine.
to this one.
Oh,
A little bit aggravated, but yeah, had to spend the weekend re-uploading every single episode to a new RSS feed because Spotify nuked the podcast.
yeah.
But other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Fuck Spotify. If you know somebody who works at Spotify, let us know. I don't care if they're the janitor. We're gonna be very unfair about our rage against them.
Absolutely. But yeah, other than that, I'm looking forward to doing this episode. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. And we've got two guests this week. Returning from previous episodes, we've got Nate and Josh. Uh, Pick one of you, whichever one wants to go first to say hello.
Alphabetical order, I guess. Go on, Josh.
Okay, well, you see, I'm going to be the devil on the shoulder, and Nate's going to be the angel. We're doing a little good cop, bad cop about this Xenoblade 2 game. It's going to be sick. The soundtrack goes crazy. Am I supposed to introduce myself? I don't need to do that.
That's Josh. Nate, how are you?
Hi, how are things? How are we? Yeah, no, Tom mentioned like doing Xenoblade soundtracks ages ago and wanted like both me and Josh on, and he asked which one we should do, and I said Xenoblade 2, obviously, and Josh didn't contest that, so here we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I mean, I kind of wanted to do X because it's my favorite, but I think it was. Have either of you played X, or is that
I
sort of?
played like
No,
7
sadly.
hours
Oh, okay.
10 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had a broken
it's.
Wii U gamepad.
Oh
Yeah,
shit! Yeah, that's
I
the
just
yeah.
never got it
classic.
repaired because I was a lazy child.
Yeah, and I suppose it's sort of timely as well because this will be coming out a little bit before the remaster of X for the Switch,
Which
which sort of
everyone
the
should buy or at
yeah.
least
I mean,
play.
go and play it because it's great. I love that game. It deserved a lot more than to be sort of left on a console that nobody played, and it was sort of
Yeah.
the last really big name game to be left on the Wii U, I would say.
Okay, yeah. I remember. I've kind of learned all of this through osmosis
Yeah.
when the characters were released for Smash, and it was like 80% of the timeline was like who, and 20% of the timeline was like shut the fuck up. This is great. This is incredible. Maybe they'll get off the Wii U.
Well, two is on the Switch. To be clear, yeah,
Mhm.
this is a different game to X because they love to name the third game in the Xenoblade series is Xenoblade 2. Uh,
I
but
admit that I have not been able to untangle it at
yeah,
all. So
um,
I hope that that is one of the results of this. I did try to emulate that with some success, but I couldn't quite get there
mm,
with my hardware at the time.
yeah. So either one of you want to say sort of give a little quick explanation of Xenoblade 2 specifically, sort of what it is, how it sort of ties into the rest of the games, if it does at all. Because I've never been
Mm.
quite clear on this, to be honest. I think three sort of is where they all tie together, but go
Yeah.
on.
So Xenoblade itself is a JRPG series, which has a very MMO style combat system. Um, and it has, just great world, great stories, side quests out the back end. And Xenoblade 2 is a game that like came out and was seemingly completely disconnected from the first game. And of course, then everyone lost their minds playing it halfway through when it was revealed that it was connected the entire time. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But it has just like all the other Xenoblade games, it has a completely different combat system to what came before.
Hmm.
And the same thing with its DLCs as well. Every time that the team does something with the game, they completely change how it plays while keeping it somewhat similar. It's great.
Yeah, they do a good job of sort of iterating and sort of exploring different areas of that kind of very similar combat style. And like, I think it's interesting as well because this one is the first one of the Xenoblades that really felt connected to like the Xenogears, Xenosaga kind of
Mm, mm.
aspect of the series. Like they're not like officially connected in any way, but like
The
this is the
Zohar,
one
like
where a lot
the
of
Zohar's
themes
there.
and yeah, the Zohar, the monolith is there. Like there's a lot of stuff that's sort of um that's a lot more directly referential rather than just being sort of illusions. And even stuff like the very end of the game, like where you sort of you I won't spoil too much, but you get to the end of the game and like it is essentially the sort of backstory of Xenoblade, or sorry, not Xenoblade, Xenogears is the ending of this game in a weird way. Um, and it's like, yeah, it's connected, but it's not, and it was never even intended to be connected in the first place. And then they sort of went back and sort of filled in a bunch of stuff. Um, so yeah, the Xenoblade is a land of contrast, I suppose, is where we're going with this.
Isn't Xenogears have like an insane ending as well? So that's kind of crazy to loop back to. Do I have that right?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've finished Xenoblade, or sorry, Xenogears, but yeah, that game goes wild, especially the last sort of 40 hours of it.
That's a lot of
um,
hours to go crazy
it's-
for.
yeah, and like obviously the sort of infamous second disc of Xenogears is sort of part of that because they had so much story to get through and not enough time or budget to actually make gameplay for it, so they just sort of had to make a decision to cut down as much gameplay as possible and just stuff all of the story in as much as they could. Um, and to a degree, it doesn't work entirely.
No.
But at least you get the full story of that game, if not the rest, because it was the only game in the series, despite being part 3 of 8 or something. I think is sort of where it was in the timeline. And then like Xenosaga came along and is technically different, but is also based on the same sort of lower Bible. The Perfect Works is what it was called, I believe. Um, and then Xenoblade came out on the Wii U, and initially had nothing to do with it other than some very vague allusions. And it was only named Xenoblade because it was just sort of to be like a little tip of the hat to Takahashi. And then the more they sort of went on with it, then the more the references started to sneak in. And then I think by 3 it was just like fully blown. This is all part of the same meta series now, officially.
Yeah,
So they
3
got
went
wild with it.
places no one thought it ever would.
Yeah. And then 2 also has like you've got the guest blades coming
Yeah,
in the form of Cosmos from the Xenogears, and then like the
Talos as well.
yeah, and then you had which are the characters from Xenoblade 1 that ended up in it?
Oh,
Shulk and Fiora.
Shulk,
Was it
yeah,
Shulk of
yeah.
Fiora? Okay, yeah. So like, and again, that's not like they were DLC characters. They're not like main story characters,
Yeah,
but like putting them in sort of did make a difference to sort of perception on them. But yeah, a really good game. I think like the fact that they managed to get this game out in the first year of the Switch and it looks insanely good. Is such an impressive feat. I think.
Especially for how the development on this game was, considering like half of their staff had been poached for Breath of the Wild.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they're part of the reason that Breath of the Wild, I think, is such an incredibly good open world. Like, whatever about the unevenness of these games, and I have a lot of problems with them. I do love them, but they are uneven in many ways. Like, you cannot, and especially for X, I think in particular, like you cannot fuck with their sort of the way they build open worlds. I don't think anybody does it the way they do.
No.
And specifically in this one, I think is really interesting because every sort of like I suppose if you're not familiar, um, every place you're in, every sort of landmass is a giant monster. In the previous game, there were 2 giant mechs that were sort of locked in eternal cosmic combat, and that was where you lived. And then in this game, everything is sort of like a dragon, essentially. And then there's some lore to that about how some of these people become dragons, and then they turn into giant land masses where people live. It's weird.
One dude became a whale.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
An
Just
entire
became a whale.
civilization living inside the belly of a whale.
Oh
This
yeah.
game fucking rules.
yeah. The world
Just-
building in this is
Oh,
great.
just like that one book, Hunger Games.
The hunk.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the soundtracks then for these games, they brought back Yasunori Mitsuda, who did the original Xenogears soundtrack, and some of the Xenoblade stuff, or not Xenoblade stuff, some of the Xeno Saga stuff as well. But then they've got a bunch of new composers. Ace is like a group of composers, I think. And then they've got Kenji Hiramatsu, who is not somebody I'm super familiar with, but we'll probably talk about their contributions later. So I think we sort of rambled on a bit about the game. So I think maybe we'll jump into the first block because we have a lot of music to get through this week. It was a real bitch to fucking to trim down the music here, as Josh mentioned. The music in this game goes hard. There's so much good music, and it was a real tough time trying to trim it down. So the first block of tracks, I have 3 tracks from Ace, 1 track from Kenji Hiramatsu. These are all sort of field themes or town themes. We've got Argentum, Gormott, Tantal, and more Ardain roaming the wastes.
the piano segment like halfway through, or like just over halfway through that song, by the way. Oh, ugh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Fucking all the more Ardain is just so cool. I love it so much. Like, just I mean, all the sort of the town themes, the exploration themes are fucking great, as you just heard.
Yeah.
And there's plenty more where that came from in the soundtrack. Like, absolutely go check it out if you haven't. It's on Spotify. Not that I want to promote Spotify, but it's the easiest way for people to listen to music. But it is there. And yeah, or else just play the game and listen to these fucking bangers. Like, this game is very available. Josh, tell us about Welsh Cat Girls, please.
Absolutely.
Please.
Okay, so like I don't know what they were smoking over there, but like they decided that they had to make the there's a race in this game called Gormatti. They're all cat girls. They're all like not all cat girls, cat people. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Um, one of the main characters in the game is Nia, who the main character Rex meets, and she's just very mean and hurtful for no reason, and she's the coolest character in the game. They decided that her race, the Gormati, they were just going to make them all Welsh because they were just continuing to run with the thing they did ever since Xenoblade 1, where because Xenoblade 1, it's like it's this domino effect that led to the greatest character of all time, where because Operation Rainfall, I keep getting confused between it and Operation Rainfall. Operation Rainfall was a fan campaign, I think.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
A fan campaign to get 3 JRPGs localized in the West: Xenoblade Chronicles, Last Story, and
Pandora's Tower.
Pandora's Tower. Thank you.
Yeah.
With Xenoblade Chronicles specifically, those 3 were all successful in getting localized. But with Xenoblade specifically, they brought it to Europe first and weren't so certain about bringing it to America. So it ended up with a European localization, by which I mean they were all British in it.
Very British, like very regional British as well. Which really compounds itself into.
Exactly. It's really cool. It's like mostly just England, I feel like, in Xenoblade 1. And then in Xenoblade 2, they really start expanding and they start localizing like the names to be less JRPG and more like local. Like I feel like Morag, I don't know what her Japanese name was, but it feels like with the accents they put on her name, that it's meant to be a lot more like.
Well, I know a Morag, like that's a name in Scotland. Like,
there you go. That's
like,
it.
And like that race of people are all Scottish.
Yep. So they bring in like the Scottish and the Welsh voice actors, and they just decide, okay, the cat girls and the cat men are Welsh now. That's the long and short of it, and it's so funny. Nia has a very high-pitched voice in the Japanese dub. She sounds very stereotypical cat girl, and in the English dub, she has this deep, very rough Welsh accent, and I love her with all my heart, and I would die for her. She's so awful to everyone around her. She's wonderful.
Nia's great, and then like when you get to the twist of her whole thing, I think that character takes a fucking nosedive from that point onwards in the game.
She kind of does, but then she kind of eventually at some point in the game after that they forget about it again. Like like she mellows out, and then there's like a scene later on where Tora or like Nia is very clearly upset about something, and Tora asks, "Oh, what's wrong? Are you hungry? Have you lost your wallet?" or some shit. She just immediately blows up at him for asking such a stupid goddamn question.
I mean,
and it's like, Tora, I missed you. Yeah, fuck Tora, Christ.
Also have to like mention the absolute, just stereotypical writing genius of the character who's just so fucking mean to everyone is the designated healer in the party.
It's so good. It's peak.
She is sick of everyone's fucking shit.
She's so good. She has like really funny lines as well. For like every time she goes to start a fight, she says, "Here I come, ready," or Gormatti, as in Gormatti the race in the game, and it's like, what are you yapping about? Don't stop. Just
what a character. I feel now I have to fucking talk about how much I hate the Nopon. Throughout the whole
Yeah.
series.
Wait,
They
throughout
are
the
the
whole
absolute
Okay, hang on.
no, like ever since the first game, I'm just like these fuckers. I fucking hate them so much.
Nah.
But especially in 2, like all the Nopon in 2 are awful, and I hate every single one of them.
I do need Torah boiled in a pot. I do need that immediately.
Torah is my bastard son, and I believe he can be rehabilitated with a brick.
To explain what Nopon are for Reese,
yes, please.
They're a race of tiny little creatures that are little balls of fluff, and they all have a very annoying speech pattern, and they're stupid as hell, and I hate them.
Are these Moogle-esque?
They're very Moogle-esque, yeah.
Okay, all right. I love the Moogles, so
But, like,
I don't know. I might have to be on the side of the Nopon. It'll
In the first game, there's a whole village of them, and every single one of them needs to be cast into the fucking pit. Women and children all.
You are a heathen.
You leave the hero pawn alone.
I fucking especially the hero pawn.
No,
Like it's just that
You
character
can't be out here
archetype I
telling me
hate
you
so
hate
much.
Lukey. Come on.
Like
he's just a 40-year-old man with double-digit kids trying to provide for his family. Let him let him live.
Characters who don't know what a condom are.
Yeah.
But then the Torah, the Nopon in this game that is in your party, his whole deal is that he makes his own blade, and he essentially just makes a waifu, and she's just incredibly waifu coded the entire time.
Wonderful.
Should we
Her name is
explain
Poppy,
Blades?
and she is the best character in the game.
Poppy is good despite her origins.
Yeah.
Probably worth explaining Blades sort of broadly, because they are sort of important to the battle system and everything. If you want to do that, Josh or Nate, whichever one.
I can. Yeah. Who's it? All right then. Okay, so in Xenoblade 1, you had your entire like party of characters, and they each fought like they had their own fighting styles with their own weapons. So like Shulk just had a sword, and Ryan had a big like shield pile bunker, that kind of thing. In Xenoblade 2, they said, you know what, let's like give players free reign over what characters have for the most part. And they introduced the blades, which are their own characters, but they're equipped to like your main party, who are the drivers. So you effectively, like, even though you only have 3 characters in combat at any time, each one can equip like 3 different blades. So you've effectively got like 9 characters available to you at any time. Just it's a really cool way to evolve the combat from what they did in Xenoblade 1. Unfortunately, they tied it to a gacha mechanic, but we're not going to get into that.
But I spent so many hours playing Dragalia Lost to prepare for this podcast. Like, what am I meant to do now?
No, you didn't.
Sure, I did, man.
So the blades are, like I said, they're their own characters. We have like the main like blade. Pyra is she's like the Aegis. The main character Rex is her driver. Nia's like blade she's introduced with is a giant tiger named Dromark, and I love him with all my heart. Torah is cursed in that he cannot use a blade, so he builds his own. And like Tom says, he basically builds a waifu, and her name is Poppy, and she is genuinely like the most wholesome sweetheart like ever, and I would die for her.
She's so wonderful.
Torah.
This is a safe space for
Torah.
For waifus, although I have heard that called a problematic term, but you can use it on this podcast.
Okay,
sorry,
but
that's a little
is...
inside humor. Sorry.
Torah, we do gotta kill that guy.
Yeah.
And his grandfather.
And especially his grandfather. The entire bloodline needs to be erased, is the problem.
Yeah. And they're like, is there other Nopon in the game? I feel like there's not like as many as there were in the first game.
There's like a villain one. He's funny.
Yes.
Oh,
there's Bana. We haven't unfortunately we did have to cut out like one of his boss themes, but like the Nopon. I'm a Nopon defender. I'm gonna be real.
I'm a huge.
I love them
Huh?
so much. Even if they are awful at times. Yeah,
I-
2 doesn't really have that many, like, in comparison to 1.
Mm,
There's plenty of, like, just random NPCs that give you side quests and stuff, but as in terms of, like, the actual story and whatnot, there's Torna, there's, like, his dad, there's Bana and Bana's assistant, and then, like, his grandfather shows up as well, Tora's grandfather.
yeah.
But other than that,
Uh,
there really isn't that many.
Yeah. One thing probably worth noting about the blades as well is, and it's a source of sort of a lot of weirdness and discourse early on with the, like each of them was sort of designed by different character designers. They got like a lot of guest character designers to come in,
Yeah.
and like some of the character designs are a little bit troublesome, let's say.
yeah.
They're out there.
And they're fine, like, but some of them then also and actually all the named ones. So like there's a whole thing of like you have like what's the difference between the blades? There's like the named blades, and then there's the blades that are just like generic.
Generic blades and
Um,
rare blades, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the rare
So is
blades. Go on, sorry.
I'm still blades are they just sort of like MacGuffin waifus, and
Uh,
and sort of like they just occur naturally, or are they sort of like
Oh,
mages? What's
Oh,
I can
there
we?
is
Oh,
lore.
gotta
There's a
get the
lot going
you know
on
what? Let's
there.
let's just skip past that. They
They're-
exist in the world, and they're
Okay.
sort of
they're
um,
guys who manifest weapons and they pop out of rocks. That's all you
Okay.
need to
Yeah.
know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the rocks are and there's
Interesting.
rare ones that are sort of like unique and they have their own specific skill sets, and many of them actually all of the rare ones have their own little sort of side story,
They have their own,
most
like,
of which are really
side
fucking
quests,
really
yeah.
good, like really well written.
And then there's Ursula.
Well, yeah, not all of them are great, but like there's so many ones that are really good. But the problem is because of the gacha mechanic, there's a chance you'll never see most of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because like by the time you get to end game, every time you crack open one of these fucking stupid rocks, the chance of getting an actual rare blade is fucking nil.
It's very
And
low.
even though they added in stuff to sort of adjust the rates of drops and stuff like that, it was just so you're basically just stuck with what you got, and if you missed some of the better ones, it made sort of like you missed out on a lot of cool story stuff. And I feel like this is a problem with Xenoblade games in general. Like the first game has that too, with the character stuff, like the stuff where you have the character affection.
Oh, the heart to
Um,
hearts.
the heart to hearts, yeah, like you'll never
The
see, you'll
affinity,
maybe see
yeah.
one of those in a normal playthrough. And there's a bunch of really good like scenes and character stuff in there that's like important to the plot, and it's important to stuff that happens later. And it's just like you'll never see that on your first playthrough unless you are like grinding out fucking affection.
Oh, I
So
don't know.
so
It feels like
are
they
these gacha mechanics just like you have to pay a lot of gold, or is it like you
you
only
pick
can
up
make so many pulls?
yeah, you pick up these items called core crystals from like battles and whatever other like
Mm.
chests, whatever. And then you go into your pause menu and there's like a sub menu for like core crystals, and you just open each one and it'll go through this whole animation that they on release. The animation for like opening a core crystal
Oh yeah,
wasn't
yeah, yeah.
skippable.
Wasn't
Very
skippable.
Oh
cool,
yes.
very sick. And then it tells you whether you got a common blade or a rare blade and which blade you got, whatever.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
Okay.
finite amount, whatever. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Just calibrating in my head how I would feel
Yeah.
about this.
Sorry, Josh, were you about to defend the heart to hearts?
Yes, because it feels like I don't know. On my playthroughs, whenever I'm like using different characters and stuff, the affinity tends to go up not quickly, but it goes up, pretty consistently. And I found myself getting a lot of the heart to hearts. So like I don't know. For me personally, I wouldn't really compare it to Xenoblade 2 Gacha, but
No, it's not quite the
um,
same. No, but it's
yeah.
just I think each game has its own little sort of gating mechanic that I don't like.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, field
X has
skills!
one
We love
too.
field skills.
Field skills, yeah, fucking field skills in this game are dog shit. Whoever came up with it should have been fucking taken out back and shot. Like So to explain field skills, every blade has like a bunch of skills that they have that can be used to like unlock gates, like get chests, things like that. There's a bunch of different things. A few of them are story requirements, and basically it just means you have to stop playing the game for a while and just go and look at a bunch of menus to figure out how to get your skills up and figure out which blades have those skills.
Yeah.
And like, there's no easy way to do it unless you have a guide in front of you, essentially, because it
I
involves
will
so many
say
different sub menus and sub menus. Go on, sorry.
small like it's small like, oh yeah, whatever, like at least they did this, but like everything that's required in the main story, at least they do give you like all of the rare blades you are guaranteed to get throughout the story,
Yeah,
do let you do
have
every
those
check,
skills.
which is
Yeah.
nice, but with the
Is
optional stuff, it's it's a it's a war zone.
But
I
even
actually
with the stuff that you get, you still end up with like having to go into the menu and be like, okay, I need to go and kill 800, or not 800, like I need to go kill 8 horses on this island, for an hour, and then go and find 6 slightly different horses on a different island, like that kind of shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're making this game sound like a JRPG for fucking sickos.
Oh, it's pure
Yeah.
sickos.
Very much so.
All right, this is to its credit. This makes me want to play it.
I am specifically thinking of one field skill check in like chapter 7 where it requires like 7 dark element. I might have missed something, but I remember just like sitting there and rolling core crystals for forever just to like get 7 or not 7 specifically, but like a bunch of dark common guys just to be like, please, I don't have the guys for this. I just let me through, and it was like
Yeah,
oh.
this Eric Andre at the gate. Just let me in.
Yeah, but like he's rolling on fucking Dragalia Lost or Grand Blue or some shit to get in.
Right. Let's jump into the next block of tracks. We have another more Ardain track. So this is the nighttime theme, which is like the same theme repeated, but nice and chill instead. Then we have Cliffs of Morytha, Elysium in the Dream, which is by Yasunori Mitsuda, War and Peace, which is by Manami Kiyota, and the first 2 tracks I should have mentioned were by Kenji Hiramatsu. So yeah, we'll jump into those and we'll come back and chat a bit later.
Okay. What is Tiger Tiger?
Okay. So we talked about like the blades and about Tora and Poppy like very briefly, and we just didn't mention Tiger Tiger. So because Tora can't use a regular blade and have to build his own, Poppy works. She doesn't have equipment slots like every other party member and every other blade. Um, she has her own like Poppy like nop on equipment system that you primarily get everything through a mini game in Tora's house called Tiger Tiger. Um, and it is arguably not very deep or good. I like it. The theme for it is very fun. Um,
Mm,
it's a cute little game. It gets very, very repetitive.
yeah.
And when you put the time in and you actually get the stuff in it, Poppy is like the uncontested best blade in the entire game. But you have to put hours into this mini game, um, where you go in, you do a little diving. Like the gameplay is literally you dive down to the bottom of like the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
You dodge a bunch of hazards, you pick up a chest, and then you have to escape. Um, Games don't take that long. Uh, the higher difficulty levels are unironically like pretty challenging. Um, like I said, it's not very deep. Arguably, it's
Okay.
not very good.
This looks
Um,
like a Game Boy Color game.
Yeah.
yep, that's it.
That's Tiger
Yeah.
Tiger, baby.
All
But
right, and how
if you do it,
okay.
if you do it, if you play it, you can completely trivialize the game very quickly.
Mm. I feel like
Interesting.
that's something we sort of chatted about the battle system in the break there. Just like this is the game where if you are willing to put the time into sort of any given set of blades that you want to use, you can pretty much just break the game over your knee.
Yeah,
Like once you get into sort of like the higher level usage of the combat system and the sort of the what do they call that chaining, the element chaining that they have in this.
Hmm.
I forget what they call it, but like yeah, you chain elemental attacks and it sort of it allows you to just overpower everybody and get everybody a nice big boost and just yeah, it's really fun once you get going. But it's the momentum in this game is sort of weird because it can sort of so easily turn the other way so quickly.
Yeah.
Like you can get a couple of damage spikes and just suddenly go from full health to zero in like 3 seconds. So it's sort of like managing that in this game is probably the toughest part of the battle system, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Something
a
I
very
suppose.
very
Oh, go
rewarding
ahead.
battle system. That's it. Just saying, it's extremely rewarding.
Yeah.
Because nothing in the game is explained well. The tutorials are like infamously bad.
Yeah.
They tell you absolutely nothing. But once you learn the systems, and you can like build up for crazy stupid chain attacks and like blade combos, it goes crazy. It's very
Yeah.
satisfying seeing numbers.
Yeah. You get some
This,
serious numbers.
this is all very appealing.
Yeah. Something I suppose we should probably talk about because the first when I added you to the chat for this, the first thing the two of you did was post a meme of one of the villains. Was it Malos?
Let's go,
Yeah.
Mallows.
Yeah.
I feel like we should talk about the villains in this game because they actually kind of fucking rule. Um, Whichever one of you wants to go first on it.
I'll let Josh take.
I barely remember them, Nate. You have to do this.
Damn, that's absolutely crazy. That's insane. So the villains in this game are hilarious. They're great. They're just a band of absolute assholes. And running with the gag, like Josh mentioned, Nia being extremely mean. At the start of the game, she's a part of their squad.
Mm.
All of the members of the group, known as Torna, they were all designed by Tetsuya Nomura, and you can tell.
Oh, it
they're
shows.
they're they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. They show up like like villain of the week kind of Saturday morning cartoon vibe at some point. Like just different points in the game, they just show up to just to stir shit. It's great. I love them.
Yeah, they're great. I was about like, and they're sort of they're all part of the backstory as well. Like they all knew
Yeah.
each other in the past, which is covered by the DLC that we'll talk about later. And yeah, they're just sort of there's a silliness to them, and yeah, the fact that they're Tetsuya Nomura designs definitely is part of it. The Jin I love, like that's such a stupid character design, the mask and everything.
Jin's
he's
incredible. Jin's
raw.
incredible. No, it's so funny because you mentioned like all of the like the blades and even some of the characters like all being done by like different designers. At the start of the game, when you like get certain people in your party and you open up the screen and you look at it, it's like, oh, that's Nomura.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely got a style.
Hmm.
The themes that Yasunori Mitsuda has done for this series though are just, I love it, and like it's interesting that he's only sort of done like small parts of these games, that he's sort of become more of a supervising music director or something like that. Because the Xenogears soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. I go back to that a lot, and like it's interesting sort of how he's a lot of the same sort of things that he was doing in that game are sort of still coming up with like Elysium of the Dream is really good for that. It's like very distinct Mitsuda style, and again, just the last time we talked about him was going to be 2 episodes ago now, was when we were talking about the Mario Party soundtrack, because he did the first Mario Party on the N64, which is just an interesting contrast, I suppose. Ace sort of, I've only ever really familiar with them from the Xenoblade games. They did a lot of stuff on the first game, and then they ended up doing a bunch of stuff on the Smash Brothers soundtrack as well. And I feel now that I actually should have included some Smash Brothers tracks. They're not that different. I don't think they got any major rearrangements, but the sort of the way the Xenoblade series has crossed over with Smash has been sort of very interesting as well, just because they're like, it's the major first party RPG series, well, not first party, but like the major sort of exclusive RPG series for Nintendo consoles. So like the Shulk starting off in Smash 4, and then putting Pyra and Mithra in Ultimate was definitely sort of a big deal for a lot of people, as Reese mentioned early on in the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically where I heard about the series. I was aware of Xenogears, but I didn't. Even though those, I wouldn't have been surprised because they both had Xeno in the title. But that was a common enough beginning that I was willing. I wasn't sure that they were connected, basically. And so learning about them from Smash has been, I guess part of the point. But it's been quite a journey.
No, I personally, I still remember the day like Shulk was announced. And I remember walking home from school. I'd just been dropped off from my bus. And just checking my phone and seeing that like he'd been added to Smash, and I freaked out on the way home, like just as I was walking, which is great because I live in the middle of nowhere. So no one could see my my hype moment. But then like that's how I ended up meeting Josh, was like playing Smash Brothers. We both played Shulk.
Michael. Yeah, I had the same thing of like getting home from school and like just popping off, and then it proceeded to cause the next 10 years of my life, I suppose, positive, except 4 of those were spent playing Shulk and Super Smash Brothers. So I mean, who's to say whether it was good or bad?
Yeah. It was exciting to have him there. He was terrible.
Yeah, he was. Oh, he's still a bit
The
like that.
character
Even
just
didn't function.
wasn't. I've heard he was good in Ult. I didn't play Ult.
He was good in Ult, but he still like has those weird things where like up smash just doesn't connect on the second hit sometimes.
We love characters that don't function.
Yeah. It is crazy. Shulk Xenoblade created the meeting of the minds.
Incredible.
Yeah, it really broke a lot of brains, I think. It's so funny the way Smash sort of intersects with other games like that, because like similar to sort of Fire Emblem, there's a lot of people who only know those characters from Smash, and then sort of became complete mental sickos about the the games that those characters originally came from, and that they would probably never have encountered them were it not for Smash.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I am definitely in that camp.
Yeah, it's a real nexus of mental illness.
For sure, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we'll jump into the next block anyway. These are all battle teams, so as we mentioned, the battles in this game are pretty fucking cool. They're very dynamic. There's lots of shit going on, and the battle music is all absolutely rocking. So the first track I have is just called Battle. It's by Kenji Hiramatsu. Then I have Those Who Stand Against Our Path by Ace. You Will Recall Our Names, another again by Kenji Hiramatsu. And lastly is Bringer of Chaos Ultimate by Ace.
Real classic JRP song title names here.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were having a good laugh about Zeke. But that team fucking whips so much ass. Again, like you said, it's a bit of a joke fight when you fight him, but like the music goes insanely hard.
It's
No, I like that.
interesting the game that is unfurling in my head based on the things I'm learning about it on this podcast and also the music. It I mean it sounds like it bangs, but you know I definitely enjoyed the especially the track which you said was sort of like the field boss theme, the second to last one, that
Mm,
you will know our names. I thought that that was just like such a classic. We're gonna fight. It's gonna be epic. But there was just that like I don't mean this pejoratively at all, but there was that slight tense of genericness to it, so it could apply to just about anything that you're fighting.
mm.
It's great.
Yeah, no, I love like both the combat system and like every theme that you hear in combat in this game. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
there's plenty more where that came from. Like a lot of the story bosses have unique themes, and like some of the super bosses later, like sort of the post game content, they have their own
Mm.
themes as well. I think, and like as I say, this soundtrack is absolutely huge. Well worth digging it out if you like the stuff here.
Yeah, no, like there's so many like battle tracks that like had to be left out that I am just upset that are not there.
Yeah, like honestly, I was like, I could just do an entire episode just of battle tracks, and then like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'd still have to cut more than I'd like.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Well, we do. We our next block is going to be talking about the DLC, which I actually only started about 6 months ago, and I'm still going through it slowly, but I am enjoying it. It's just I've I tend to play my Switch before I go to sleep, and I often will just sort of fall asleep before I get too far doing anything.
Mm.
So it's sort of like slow going, but I'm enjoying the little twists on the battle system and like seeing some of these characters in the past and stuff. But I think Nate, you should probably explain it because I think you're the only one of us who's actually finished it.
That's crazy. Yeah, so the DLC for Xenoblade 2 is called Torna the Golden Country. And it's about the characters that like lived and worked around Torna, which is a country that in the main game had like previously fallen. Like Tom mentioned before, all of the like the game's world is based on like you're playing on the backs of these massive titans and like kaiju. Torna is one that like had fallen in a war and a bunch of people died, and the DLC is based before all of that bad shit happens and the characters that live there and how they relate to the story of the main game. Um, and again, like Tom mentioned, there's like a tweaks in the battle system. In in Xenoblade 2, you have like the blades and you have the drivers. But in the DLC, because it takes place like so long ago, you have all of like the main characters who fight like with their own weapons, and then the blades fight alongside them. And that system comes from like the main character of the DLC is a woman named Laura, and her blade is one of the members of the Torna in the main game, Jin, and they fight together using the same sword purely for the reason that they can't afford a second weapon, and that ends up becoming the system that like their fighting style ends up becoming what everyone uses in the main game. It's really cool. It's got a great story, and I love the characters in it.
It's a really satisfying sort of like the way like there's a rhythm to the combat that it's like because
Mm,
I guess like you it's an MMO so you sort of auto attack but like as you attack that fills up your moves and they fill up at different rates or whatever but like if you like do one of these attacks just as another attack hits it sort of it allows you to combo and then you can also then like switch out your character as part of that
yeah.
to do like special effects and stuff like that. So like a lot of the knockdown effects and things like that are done through this system, and like the feeling when you press that button at the right time and like the character comes in and knocks down a
Oh, it's so
character
good.
or does the launch or whatever is like it's incredibly satisfying. Like they really tuned the rhythm of the battle system so well in it. I really
Mm.
enjoy how they do that. Sorry to interrupt. Go on.
It's really good. No, you're fine. I was done talking about like the
Yeah.
DLC for the most part.
Um,
It's really good. It's not that long either. It's great.
hmm. And I think like most of the sort of the main villains and like the blades sort of show up. Like Morag is there, Pyra is there, or not Pyra, but Mithra is there. She hasn't been split up into Pyra and Mithra yet, has she? Or
Mhm.
does that come? Does that happen as part of it, or is it?
Yeah. Without
Yeah,
going into it, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Morag's blade is there as well.
yeah. And like
Yeah.
Jin, who we mentioned, is is um is Malos or any of those gangs show up in it?
Malos is in it, yeah.
Yeah.
So like it might be confusing because I said it happens like years prior. The blades in the story they don't age. They have like a rebirth cycle when their drivers die and they just lose their
Mm,
memories and that's all. So like Morag's blade, Bridget is there as well. There's uh yeah another blade that Morag uses, Aegean is also there.
mm.
And there's a character that you meet in the story who is just a guy who has lived a very very long time, and you get to see him when he's younger, and he's awesome, and I love him.
But I haven't met him yet, so I'm looking forward to
Hmm.
that. um, yeah, it's like the whole sort of the whole thing with Blade. Sort of they go back to their crystal form when their driver dies. Like that's sort of an important plot point in the base game as well.
Yeah,
But it's sort of what allows for these characters to have existed for so long. Um, like essentially right back to the dawn of time, or at least the
yeah,
dawn of this time, because of whatever shit happens at the end of the game. um, but yeah, I think we're going to jump into the block of tracks um, for Torna. Sorry, I lost my notes there for a second. So these first two tracks by Manami Kiyota. I have Lasaria Woodland, then Auresco Royal Capital Night, then a track by Yasunori Mitsuda called Our Paths May Never Cross, and then lastly is the battle theme by Kenji Hiramatsu.
I was on Blue Sky like yesterday, and this video of this. I saw the caption like, "This spider has the comedic timing of smiling friends," and it's just I'm looking at the video, and it's just an empty box of sand, and out of the sand just pops up this big blue spider like it's nothing, and I literally cannot touch the phone. I'm like, okay, well, I'm over here now.
I thought you had more to say on that.
I did, but I didn't want to like. I know
No,
I
I
knew
was
this
saying,
song.
just keep going because I
Yeah.
just edit out the yapping anyways.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm over here now. I'm like sitting trying to keep myself as physically far from the phone as possible, while also trying to get the fucking thing off my screen because it was like such a close up of this giant fucking spider, and I'm like, I can't.
I have the mental image of you going into Lex's room and being like, "I need help," and they're
I
like,
need
"With
please-
what?" There's a spider on my phone.
On my phone.
And then they go in, and it's not even a spider on your phone; it's a picture of a spider.
That's genuinely you like. I kind of want to do that as a bit now. You know?
Well, no, I have to leave all that in now, so you know, because that was too funny. Oh fuck though, that battle theme is wild. I love it. Like just that whole sort
It's
of
so
jazz
good.
samba fucking orchestral. Like, it's one of those things I often go on about in the show, just how like you can with the video game you're never constrained by genre, so you can do exactly that and just be like, okay, this is going to be a little bit of fucking jazz, a little bit of orchestral music, and then during the parts where it goes really hard, we're just going to fucking have a full on samba, and like it all works and it's so good. And it's
That
so
was
different
wonderful.
from the other battle themes as well.
It definitely was very. I don't want to say it's different, but because I think that there is a connection that like I feel like this is a very upbeat OST in a lot of ways. Like
Yeah.
that like this feels like a game is like it's gonna bog you down with 700 hours of absolute horse shit as you're grinding. But it seems like it's just like, you know, you're having a good time while you're doing it.
Yeah.
And so I'm definitely intrigued, and I did very much like that last song. Although it's I admit I'm a little unmoored. Just, you know, I did a little bit of research for this one, but I was just like, this is one where I'm going to sit my white ass down and listen.
Yeah, like it's so weird because like the way fans of this game treat it, there's sort of like a weird ironic detachment to it all. But like you do sort of love it despite all that. Like it's that sort of that thing we talk about before, Reese, with like Sonic, where that's sort of like the sincerity of it and the irony sort of mesh in a way that is hard to untangle. So like anybody who loves these games also just shits on them constantly. And like on the characters and everything, but like yeah, you still just fucking love it. And like and the plots are so like they're so I don't want to say self-important, but like po-faced, I suppose. Like they're such like JRPG ass games that,
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah,
you know, and
absolutely.
it's just like, you know, here's a bunch of shit from Gnosticism and Kabbalah thrown in. Plus you've got all the baggage of the other Xeno games sort of weighing it down as well. And despite that, is constantly just like pulling shit out of its ass that surprises you and is insane, but is also like very compelling in its way as well.
It's funny that you say that and put it that way, because I was gonna say this game's vibe is very JRPG.jpg. Like it's
Yeah.
just it feels very like classic goof 'em up in a way that you know is not generic in any way, shape, or form. But you know it has the attributes of every JRPG at once, and it's very funny.
Something I think about a lot is like, you know, in Final Fantasy X, at like about 60% through the game, suddenly every character starts revealing that they're actually dead and have not been sent.
Yeah.
And just like it just becomes a massive plot point. This does the same thing where like there's the blade eaters or whatever. Like it's revealed that basically
Yeah.
every character is a blade eater. At some point, or has something insanely traumatic in their past that's caused them to like yeah, and it's just and it's like you every character just sort of lines up and goes, this is my tragic backstory where my cat died. Like there's just the way it just does that towards the end of the game is wild, because like you first started with Nia, you get Nia's whole shit, and then like once Nia's done, Zeke's is like, okay, now it's time for my backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah, genuinely.
I know I love that so much when that happens
Yeah.
towards the end of the game, because you also just have Tora sitting on a cliff being like, I should upgrade my robot.
I should give my robot a maid outfit. Yeah, man, go away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's fucking Xenoblade 2, I guess. What a game! Like genuinely, like again, we as much as we've sort of laughed about it, like there's so much to enjoy in this game. Like the world building is really good. The actual exploration is mostly really cool, apart from the field skill stuff. As we mentioned, the battle system is fucking stunning. It's so good. The
Oh, it's
music is
so
great.
good.
The characters are good. The writing is dodgy, but like you genuinely like really enjoy these characters, and they're very endearing. And yeah, just like a really good game, and like the soundtrack obviously is just top tier. Hard to say more on it, I suppose.
You know, there's a lot on my list,
Hmm.
and adding something where I'll be tempted to go on the more of the 300-hour side of things and the 60-hour thing side of things probably makes it so it'll be a little while before I sit down for this one. But I do want to
Hmm.
sit down for it. Like none of that, you know, all of the shitting on it only made me want to play it more. So I'm excited to weigh in on Tiger most of all.
Yeah.
I'll
Hell
be letting the
yeah.
podcast know the whether or not Tiger is good.
Yeah, and I suppose with Xenoblade X coming out soon, like that game is probably the most standalone. Um,
Hmm.
like it has stuff in it that is sort of connected, but I don't know if it's like fully connected because of 3 now or something that I missed. But like, yeah, it stands on its own, so it's very much one that you could get and sort of try it out if you're sort of interested. Like the combat system's different, but like these all are sort of variations on a similar theme in terms of like being sort of MMO style combat, and the mechanics are built on top of that. And it's also the only one where you get to ride around in a mech, which I think sort of puts it well above the other games, which don't let you ride around in mechs.
It is true.
I can't wait to play it,
Yeah.
honestly.
Any final thoughts on Xenoblade, Josh or Nate?
I just think the game is fun. This is like the game that got me into really being a number crunching nerd when I play video games, because the challenge mode DLC for this game came out, and I realized, oh hey, I actually really like this game's combat system, and I just spent hours playing that DLC, and it leaked over to other things that I play, and it's really changed the way I approach JRPGs, and I'm super grateful for it. And of course, I just love like the game and the characters. I think it's a great series. I think everyone should give Xenoblade a shot, whether it's 1 or 2 or X or whatever.
Hmm.
It's definitely one where even if you might not like one game as much as the other or whatever, but the characters will definitely fucking do something for you. Like
Hell yeah.
God, the entire cast of like each game is fantastic. I don't like, admittedly, I don't like two very much, but God, Nia Xenoblade is a permanent fixture in my brain. I've got like the little charm on my bag, which is sat right next to my Chips Enough charm of my, like, that's my husband. I've got the husband and the wife sitting right there. It's a
Hell
beautiful
yeah.
thing.
Fantastic.
Play Xenoblade. Play Xenoblade.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do it.
absolutely. I've been going on a bit lately where all great video games have four things, which are dudes, vibes, and excellent music, excellent vibes, a cute girl character, And number 4, as was mentioned by Nate, is the ability to goblin out.
Yes.
and I think that is so important. I've called it quarking out, but I've had some resistance on calling it quarking out. But we'll work on the language. But I think we know what we mean. Just being able to like really dig into the meat of what the game is asking you to do and do your build or whatever is always so fucking satisfying. Oh my god. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to play this on the day of my 51st birthday.
Excellent. All right. Yeah. So thanks so much for joining us. Do either of you have anything you want to plug, or just tell people where they can find you online?
Oh yeah, okay, all right. I keep staying silent because I'm like, Nate's been doing most of the actual explaining Xenoblade 2 because I don't remember. I came onto the podcast and immediately realized, hey, I don't remember very much about this game. Yeah, I stream. If you go to www.twitch.tv/jester_, you can see me play Monkey Ball every Monday and other games that are less important on other days. I love Super Monkey Ball. Tom? Can you just like do a repeat of the Monkey Ball episode? I'll say all the exact same things again. I'll just ad lib everyone's lines. I'll just repeat them all, and it'll be great. You can put it up as like your 100th episode.
I'll figure out something.
Yeah, perfect.
Nate?
Yeah, you can find me at www.twitch.tv/gesture_ in the chat, taking lick out of Josh when he's playing Monkey Ball. So yeah, no, really, just like thanks for having both of us on again, and thank you for
it's great.
covering
Great
this
fun.
absolute banger of a game.
Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. It's us who thank you here, because we really appreciate you giving your time and your enthusiasm. And it was a delight.
Absolutely. Reese, anything you want to plug?
Check out Video Games Are the Worst Thing on Earth, our leftist video game / mental illness discussion podcast. And Existential Warfare, my personal podcast that I am threatening to release a new episode of any month now. Yeah, that's it.
Excellent. So as for ourselves, we can be found at Patreon, a CRT Sound System, if you want to chip in some money now that I have to pay for hosting
Yeah.
on this on the podcast. Not that much, but it is a bit of a nuisance, seeing as Spotify was kindly doing it for free for so long.
If you want to stick it to Spotify, those
Yeah.
fuckers, help us pay for our podcast subscription.
Yeah,
please.
absolutely. We're not on Spotify anymore, sadly, but I have updated the feed. If you subscribe on a device or on anything else like Podcast Addict or Pocket Casts or anything, the feed should be updated. If it's not updating for you, let me know and I will double check where, or just tell me what service you're using, and I can double check to make sure that the feed is updated there as well.
Yeah, definitely communicate any kind of stuff like that, because it seems like we've had a pretty painless transfer, but you never know. One never knows.
Absolutely, yeah. You can still get the Patreon feed on Spotify. That hasn't been nuked, so I think because those are private, maybe they don't monitor them as much or something like that. But yeah, the Patreon feed is still on Spotify. But I'm gonna lay low on Spotify for a while, and then maybe see if I can host it there later or something like that.
Okay, excellent.
But yeah, other than that, if you want to come chat with us, come hang out in the Discord. There's a link in the notes. If you want to come on the show, or if you want us to do any particular soundtrack, you have to come on the show. If you ask us to do a soundtrack, that's the rule. Just reach out to us anywhere you want, really.
Yeah, that's how the upcoming Nier episode is happening. Somebody was just like, "You should do a Nier episode," and you were just like, "Make me," by pleasantly
By coming on the show.
agreeing to your time. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so going back to Yasunori Mitsuda for the last track, and it's called One Last You. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
eternity. The final day has come to an end. It's gone for good.